Bhishma Panchak as well. So, first of all, I want to thank His Grace Neelamani Prabhu, Shamkun Prabhu for giving me this opportunity to speak on this auspicious day. I have no qualification to sit in front of you and speak, and especially today, the topic is going to be the glories of Bhishma Dev. And I am no way qualified to talk about him, but he's a great personality. We'll talk about him shortly, and if we meditate on him, Krishna would be very pleased, and that would be helping us as well. So with that, we'll sing Jaya Radha Mada. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Gaura Nithai Jaya Gaura Nithai Jaya Gaura Nithai Jaya Gaura Nithai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Gaunitai ki Jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman ki Jai, Shri Shri Srinath ji Gopal ji ki Jai, Shri Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Once again, we will also say the invocation prayers. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadra Shri Spasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you all. So, we'll talk about the glories of Bhishma Dev. Now, if you really think about it, right, like Bhishma Dev is not an ordinary personality. Now, Bhagavatam glorifies Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev is one of the 12 great Mahajans, right? Now, who are all the 12 Mahajans? Lord Brahma, Narad Muni, Lord Shiva, 4 Kumaras, Lord Kapil Dev, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhishma Dev, Janaka Maharaj, Sukadev Goswami, Bali Maharaj, and Yamaraj. So, if you take the whole Mahabharata, right, the Krishna played a significant role, and Bhishma Dev is one of the very significant warrior and played a very significant role in the whole Mahabharata. The whole Mahabharata, right, Krishna planned and then it was enacted is there is a lot of learnings for us as the conditioned soul, which we can learn from the whole Mahabharata. Similarly, from Bhishma Dev, we can also learn a lot of lessons, and we'll talk about that shortly. So, and at the same time, Bhishma Dev, there is so much in the next 25, 35 minutes. I'll not be able to cover all aspects of Lord Bhishma Dev, right? He's a very great personality. From the childhood till the end, he contributed a lot in Mahabharata, and he's a great personality. So we will not be able to cover all the aspects, but at the same time, I wanted to touch on few of the aspects from the birth of Bhishma Dev till the end. We will see that shortly. Okay. Want to cover his childhood, his significant role in Kuru dynasty, his contributions in the war, his instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj, and then there is a Bhishma Stuti, the prayers given by Bhishma Dev during his end of his life. And what are the teachings from Bhishma Dev? And finally, Bhishma Panchak. So we have 35 minutes. We'll see how we can cover all of those. Okay. Now, Bhishma Dev's childhood time, right? Now, as you all know, the story, every story starts with once upon a time, right? Now, once upon a time, there was a yagya, inaugurated by Lord Brahma in Brahmalok. So now Lord Brahma invited all the great personalities from the heavenly planets, and everyone attended. One of the great personality was King Mahabhishek. He was invited, and also when Brahma invited, he invited the celestial rivers, and also for every river there is a personification, right? So for Ganges is Mother Ganga Devi is the personification. So she was also invited for that yagya. Now, in that yagya, when King Mahabhishek was part of that yagya, he had a chance to see the face of Ganga Devi, and then he was very much attracted by the beauty of Ganga Devi, and of course Ganga Devi also responded back, and now Lord Brahma is noticing this, right? The yajna is going on, and Lord Brahma is able to observe that, and then he understood the intention, right? And then in order to give them the opportunity, Lord Brahma cursed the king Mahabhishek as well as Ganges, the Ganga Devi, to take birth in the material world, and then they'll be able to fulfill their desires. So, based on that curse, now King Mahabhishek took birth in the material planet as the son of King Pratipa in Chandravamsa, and he was called as Shantanu Maharaj. Right? Now, Shantanu Maharaj, again, same way Ganga Devi also appears in the material world, and Shantanu Maharaj meets Ganga Devi, and then they were able to, he gave his proposal, and finally he wanted to marry Ganga Devi. But Ganga Devi gave two conditions, right? So her conditions were to Shantanu Maharaj was, number one, you should not stop me in doing whatever I want to do. And number two is you should not use any harsh words. Now, in today's world, every Mataji is expecting the same thing from their husbands, right? Uh, but it came from Ganga Devi herself. And Shantanu Maharaj agreed to it. He said, okay, that's fine. And then they got married, and then they are giving, now Ganga Devi gave birth to a child. And immediately after the child was born, Ganga Devi took the child and put the child in the Ganges and killed the child. And Shantanu Maharaj is observing this, and he couldn't ask. He remembers the two conditions, then he keeps quiet. Now the first child is being done the same way. Second child also Ganga Devi does the same way. This keeps going on up to the seventh child. Now Shantanu Maharaj couldn't tolerate any longer. Right? When the eighth child, she was about to do the same thing, Shantanu Maharaj stopped. Please explain me, why are you doing? What is this? Why are you killing these small children? And then Ganga Devi said, I told that you shouldn't stop me, and you shouldn't, so now you have stopped me. There is a reason behind this, why I'm doing it. And Shantanu Maharaj is asking, okay, tell me the reason behind that. And Ganga Devi is narrating the story behind. There is a history behind that one, as you all may be knowing that one, right? So, and then she tells the reason that there were these children are none other than eight Vasus, right? In the previous birth, if you see these eight Vasus, they went to, there was a great sage, Vashishta Muni, who was in the ashram, and in his ashram, there was a Surabhi cow. The eight Vasus, they were going when they were passing in that heavenly planet, and they observed this Surabhi cow. They wanted to take the cow with them. So they had a plan, and then seven of the Vasus made the plan, and then the eighth Vasu actually took the cow based on the plan. Now, Vashishta Muni cursed all the Vasus, saying that this was not an appropriate way, and then the seven Vasus will die, and immediately they'll come back. And then the eighth Vasu, since he drafted the plan, he would be living long life. Okay, so that was the curse. So now she's explaining this to Shantanu Maharaj, and Shantanu Maharaj could understand the situation. Now, because Shantanu Maharaj used the harsh words and stopped her, she said that I'm not going to stay with you, so I'm going to go to the heavenly planet. So now the question is, who is going to take care of the eighth child, right? So now Shantanu Maharaj understands the situation. He said, raising the child is not difficult. It's very difficult, and also it's very expensive, especially sending them to college, etc. is going to be very expensive. So it makes more sense let Mother Ganga Devi take the child in the heavenly planet. Everything is free there. So she decided to take the child there. And then he is being given all the education by all the devatas in the heavenly planet. And Parashuram is teaching the eighth child how to do the archeries and how to perform the war, and all the skills are learned by the child from the devatas. Now that's happening, and Maharaj Shantanu is also at a, he's not very happy because his wife is there in the heavenly planet, and one day he is passing by the river Ganges. At that time, he's observing that there was a very young, smart boy who was shooting arrows on the river Ganges. And because of that, the water which has to flow has to go on the other direction. Now, Shantanu Maharaj understood who is this boy, and then he was trying to see, because of that arrow, the water was flowing the other side. Now, at that time, Mother Ganges appeared and introduced that boy to Shantanu Maharaj and said that he is none other than our eighth child. Now, he, since all the devatas blessed him, and then his name was called as Devavrata. So, Devavrata is introduced by Mother Ganga to Shantanu Maharaj. So now Shantanu Maharaj is very happy about that. And then Mother Ganges went back to the heavenly planet, and then Devavrata is spending time with his dad Shantanu Maharaj. So now this is going on for some time, and then one day Shantanu Maharaj is going for hunting. At that time, he is coming across a beautiful girl, beautiful lady. So now again, Shantanu Maharaj, by seeing the beauty of that lady, gets attracted. So now he goes to that lady, and then he introduces himself, and then that lady is none other than Satyavati. So he proposes to her, and then Satyavati says that, see, I have no, and then he's asking, do you have any conditions if I marry you? And then she says, I have no condition, but you need to consult my father. So now Shantanu Maharaj is going to Satyavati's father to marry to Satyavati. Now he objects to the marriage, saying that I cannot give my daughter to you. So and then Shantanu Maharaj comes back with heavy hearted, and he was very sorrow. Now Devavrata came to know this incident, and then he wanted to do something to satisfy his father and fulfill his father's desire. So he is going to Satyavati's father, and he's saying that, please marry your daughter to my father. And then Satyavati's father is saying that, how can I marry my daughter, because I want whoever the son who is born from my daughter should rule the kingdom. And then you are there, and if you have a son, then your son will get the priority and ruling the kingdom. So I'm not going to give my daughter. At that time, Devavrata, he's saying that he is promising to Satyavati's father that, don't worry about it, right? You are talking about my taking for my son, but I'm not even going. I'll promise you that I will not even get married. So what's the question of me having a son? So then he gives that promise. He gives that assurance to Satyavati's father, and based on that, Satyavati's father agreed. At that time, all the demigods were appreciating and showering flowers because Devavrata took such a serious uh, oath to not to marry. So at that time, there was a sound from the demigods. They were telling that since he uh, took that promise, he was called Bhishana. There was a sound from the demigods that Bhishana, 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 because he took that serious vow. And from that day onwards, Devavrata becomes Bhishma. So now, so based on Devavrata's arrangement, Shantanu Maharaj is marrying to Satyavati. Now, Shantanu Maharaj was very happy about this, how Devavrata helped him in getting married to Satyavati. And so the Shantanu Maharaj is blessing Devavrata, Bhishma Dev, saying that you will only die whenever you want to die. There is no one can cause you the death unless you are willing to die. So that was the blessings and the boon given by Shantanu Maharaj to Bhishma Dev. Now, so one of the lesson which we learn from this is we can see Devavrata's dedication to his parents, right? He's teaching us that we all need to also support our parents and take care of the parents and fulfill their desires in whatever capacity we could do. Now, then after the marriage, right, the Kuru dynasty is expanding, right? Shantanu Maharaj is marrying to Satyavati. And then the whole Kuru dynasty's expansion, Bhishma Dev played a very significant role. Now, if you see this, the whole chart, I'll not go into the full details, but we can understand. And for every aspect and for every marriage, Bhishma Dev played a significant role. Now, if you see here, right, after the marriage of Satyavati to Shantanu Maharaj, they had two kids, two children, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. So now they were all trained. Bhishmadev himself personally trained every one of them. And then they all got trained. Now they were ready to get married. Right? And again, Bhishmadev helped and he went to the nearby king where there was a Swayamvara and then brought all the three daughters of that king. You all know who are those three daughters? Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika, to get it married to the children. Now, if you see Chitrangada unfortunately died even before the marriage when he went for hunting. So now for Vichitra Virya, they are bringing these, Bhishma Dev is helping, and then he's bringing all the three of them. So he's marrying to Ambika and Ambalika. You know the story of Amba, right? Amba was, she loved a king. She was desiring to marry the king Salva. So, and then these two, the marriage took place to Vichitra Virya. But again, unfortunately, before the child was born, Vichitra Virya also died. Now, Satyavati was in great distress as she wanted to have children for the next dynasty, right? So now she's asking Vyasadev, and then through Bhishma Dev's help, Vyasadev is making the arrangement, and through Vyasadev, of with Chitrangada, Vyasadev with Ambika, he was able to, through his yoga potency, he was able to get Dhritarashtra was born. Right, when Ambika was closing her eyes, then Dhritarashtra was born as blind. He was born blind. Now Satyavati was little concerned, and then through Ambalika, Pandu Maharaj was born. Right. So this is Vyasadev is making that arrangement, and at those days they used the process Niyogi, and through that the child was born. Now Satyavati was wondering, like, there is one son is blind, so I need to have another son. So when Vyasadeva approached Ambalika, she said that okay, I'm not interested, and she referred to the maid servant. And who was born to the maid servant? Vidura. Vidura was born to maid servant. So now if you see, right, and then Bhishma Dev again helped in marrying Dhritarashtra, Pandu Maharaj, right, and Vidura, not Vidura, sorry. And then they all had that, this 100 sons, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had 100 sons, Duryodhana, Dushashana, 98 sons. And Pandu, the first wife Kunti had Karna, Yudhishthir Maharaj, Bhima, Arjuna, and then the second wife of Pandu had Nakul and Sakadev. So in every aspect of their whole Kuru dynasty, Bhishma Dev assisted and helped them. Now, as you all know, right, Duryodhana and the Kauravas and Pandavas are all growing together, and all the skills are being taught by Bhishma Dev to them. And Duryodhana, from young days onwards, right, he was very envious on the Pandavas because the Pandavas were able to acquire the skills very fastly, and they were very intelligent, and they were able to win every game and every sports. So Duryodhana had that enviousness nature, and that keep on grew over a period of time. And these Pandavas everyone were grown older, and they are ready to take the kingdom. So now Duryodhana doesn't want to give the kingdom, which we all know about it, right? And the Supreme Lord Krishna went to Duryodhana to get his, like, to say that in order to avoid the war, he made the peace talk to get at least 5 villages so that the Pandavas can rule those 5 villages. But unfortunately, Duryodhana said, no, I have no way I can give any of the land, even including a land which contains even the point of the pin, right? Will not be given to them. If they want to have any of the properties or any of the land, then they need to fight with me. And only then, once they win, they can get it. So, and Krishna did all his arrangement, but couldn't happen. And then the war took place. Right? Now, in the war also, Bhishma Dev played a significant role. Now, if you can see, right, the war took place for 18 days. Now, in those 18 days, right, the fighting is happening between both the parties, Kauravas and the Pandavas. And Duryodhana is observing that, and he's chastising one day, the almost, I think, eighth or ninth day, he's chastising Bhishma Dev, saying that you are showing partiality to the Pandavas and you are not performing what you have to do. You are not supporting me, you are not fighting with them, and then you're not able to kill any of them. So now Bhishma Dev was little bit like hearing those chastisement from Duryodhana. He said, "I okay, don't worry, Duryodhana. I will kill all these five Pandavas tomorrow." So he's taking five arrows, and then he's saying that these arrows will be used to kill Pandavas. And Duryodhana is saying that, okay, give back those five arrows. I will hold it and then I will give it to you tomorrow. The meanwhile, Krishna is understood the plan of Duryodhana. And then what he did, he sent Arjuna to Duryodhana to get back those five arrows. And Arjuna went to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana, even though during those days, even though they were all fighting, the night time or the evening after the war is happened, they don't think about the fighting. And Duryodhana welcomed Arjuna well. And he said, how can I help you? What do you want? And Arjuna said, I need all those five arrows back. So Duryodhana was happy to give those five arrows. If you see, right, he was not willing to give the five villages, but he was willing to give those five arrows. By Krishna's arrangement, Arjuna took back those five arrows. The next day, now Bhishma Dev is asking Duryodhana, okay, where are those five arrows? I can kill the Pandavas. And Duryodhana is saying all those five arrows are taken by Arjuna. So now Bhishma Dev could understand it's all because of Krishna's plan. It's all only by Krishna these things could be understood. And Krishna wanted to protect the Pandavas. He understood the plan. And then he said, let me make sure, right, in the whole war, Krishna took a promise saying that he will not raise any weapon or he will not fight for any of them. So Bhishma Dev is thinking, let me make the Lord break his promise. Okay. So at that time, he is trying to kill Arjuna by throwing the arrows. And now Krishna is realizing that Arjuna is going to be killed by Bhishma Dev. And immediately, what he does, he picks up the chariot wheel and goes charging towards Bhishma Dev. Now, Acharyas are explaining this. They are giving their, and Prabhupada is also explaining. And Bhishma Dev is one side happy. He could see that the Lord Krishna himself, he is willing to break his promise to protect the Pandavas. So, and then both of them are reciprocating there. And then Bhishma Dev is shooting arrows on the Lord Krishna. And it is being said that those arrows are none other than the flowers. The devotees offer flowers and fruits to the Lord. Same way, Bhishma Dev is offering his devotion in the form of arrows. And Krishna is reciprocating for that. And then there's a transcendental blood from his body. He's reciprocating to the arrow shooted by Bhishma Dev. So that way, they are exchanging those relationship. And then Krishna was so much furious that he wanted to protect Arjuna. So the war is happening. And finally, Arjuna is shooting arrows. And then Bhishma Dev, throughout his body, he shooted the arrows. And Bhishma Dev is lying down. Right? Now, some of the key aspects within the war, right? Now, if you really understand about it, in fact, Bhishma Dev was lost. Duryodhana was lost. The whole Kauravas lost the battle, and then Pandavas won the battle. Now, Krishna is teaching, or what is the lesson we can learn from that is also is, however powerful a person may be, when he takes the side of adharma, he will be defeated. Doesn't matter who it is. So that is what Krishna is trying to teach, and Bhishma was lying in that arrows, right? Now the war is over, and then the Pandavas are going back. Everyone is going back, and Kauravas all were died. All the 100 children were died. Even though Pandavas won the war, Yudhishthir Maharaj was not convinced. He was not satisfied. He was not convinced, that he was not happy to rule the kingdom. So now he approaches the Supreme Lord Krishna, and Krishna tries to convince him. He's saying that, see, there is nothing fault on your side. The reason why Yudhishthir Maharaj was not was he had a guilty feeling in his heart, saying that I was the reason for killing all these billions of people in the war, and how can I rule with those killings? So then Krishna is trying to convince him that it's not your fault. And then but Yudhishthira Maharaj was not convinced. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj is approaching Vyasadev, and Vyasadev is convincing him as well, and then he was not happy, or he was not convinced with their answers. And finally, then Lord Krishna had a strategy to convince Yudhishthira Maharaj by taking them to Bhishma Dev. So he said, Bhishma Dev will give you the instructions, and all your questions will be answered. Now, if you really think about it, right, the Supreme Lord was able to satisfy Arjuna, and then spoke Bhagavad Gita. He clarified all the doubts of Arjuna. But will he not be able to clarify the doubt of Yudhishthir Maharaj? But the whole purpose and the strategy was, he want to glorify Bhishma Dev. He want to know the whole world about the glories of Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev being such a great personality. So that's why he made this arrangement. And then he's asking all the Pandavas. They are all now going to see Bhishma Dev. And Bhagavatam is explaining they were all decorated very well, and they are going in the golden chariot, and they had the opulence like Kubera. Now Bhishma Dev, observing all those Pandavas, right? He was so happy within the heart, right? So that all the Pandavas are supposed to get the kingdom back, and now they got the kingdom back. So he was so happy about that. And Yudhishthir Maharaj is trying to now, Krishna is asking Yudhishthir Maharaj to ask his questions, and Bhishma Dev is clarifying those questions. Now, not only the Pandavas were assembled there, it is being mentioned that all the great personalities from all the, even from the heavenly planets, reached that place and then took darshan of the Bhishma Dev. Now, I used to wonder, like, how did they arrange to communicate this, and how did all those great personality came there? Maybe they had a WhatsApp group, and they communicated in some form, right? And then all of them were there. And then the beauty is, right, if we are there, we would say, okay, send me the Zoom link, we'll attend from remotely, right? But they didn't do that. They came from the higher planet to the earthly planet to participate in that great teachings of, and then the instructions of Bhishma Dev. So now Bhishma Dev gives his instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So basically, just to summarize, right, Bhishma Dev is saying that do not regret about the battle, right? So it is not your fault at all. The whole idea, this is due to inevitable time. And then finally, he's saying, Bhishma Dev is saying, it's the plan of the Supreme Lord. So you all think that the Krishna is your cousin, but actually he's the supreme personality of Godhead, and everything emanates from him, and he's glorifying the Supreme Lord. So, and then finally, he's also talking about the Varnashram Dharma, and then he's saying that how a human being need to perform his duties. There are 9 qualifications a human being has to follow, right? Not to be angry, not to lie, to not to forgive, to avoid illicit sex, to not to harm others, being pure in our mind and body, to be simple, to be compassionate, etc. And finally, he's saying that the last thing that he thought was how to please the supreme personality of Godhead. So that way, once Bhishma Dev gave the instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj was convinced. all his doubts got clarified. And then Bhishma Dev, now he's thinking that, okay, all my duty is being done. I'm ready to leave my body. So in that situation, right, now the instructions are given. Bhishma Dev is waiting for leaving his body. Now, lot of people, we understand that Bhishma Dev was waiting for Uttarayana, that the auspicious time for leaving the body. But actually, it's being explained, Bhishma Dev did not wait for the Uttarayana time, but he was waiting for the person Uttarayana. So what does that mean, right? Krishna had so many names, and one of the name for Krishna was Uttarayana. Uttarayana means, Ayana means giving shelter. Uttara Ayana means he gave shelter to Mother Uttara. So he is called as Uttarayana. Now we know the story of Mother Uttara getting the shelter of because of Ashwatthama giving that Brahmastra. So Uttara approached the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord gave shelter. So the other name of Krishna is Uttarayana. So there is a beautiful prayers at this point of time. Bhishma Dev is glorifying the Supreme Lord. As we have understood from Bhagavad Gita also, right? Krishna clearly says that in order to go back to the spiritual world, we need to remember Krishna at the time of death. So Bhishma Dev is remembering those things, and he is trying to remember Krishna, and his vision is he's thinking of Krishna as Parthasarathi, because he was the chariot for Arjuna, and he's meditating on the Supreme Lord. And then Bhagavatam explains that there are 11 prayers, 11 slokas. Bhishma Dev is glorifying the Supreme Lord, and those prayers are called as the Bhishma Stuti. But in the interest of time, I'll not be able to sing all those 11 verses of Bhagavatam. I just wanted to sing the first verse, and then if you can respond back, okay, so that we can quickly cover the first verse, and then go from that. Okay, is that okay? So it is there in Canto 1, Chapter 9, text 32 to 42. Is the Bhishma Stuti. And being today the last day of Bhishma Panchak, it's very auspicious to remember Bhishma Dev. And let's sing this verse. I'll just sing the first two lines, and then you can repeat after me. Iti Matirupakal Vishna Bhagavati Sadvata Pungave Vibhumni. Svasukhamupagatikya kavachid vihatum prakritim upayusi yad bhava pravaha. So the meaning of this verse is Bhishma Dev is saying, let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created. So beautiful, and he sings all those prayers in front of Lord Krishna. Now, if you see what are the teachings from Bhishma Dev, right? We saw how he dedicated to his parents. He performed his duty to please the Supreme Personality of God. He had full faith and determination on the Supreme Lord. And then he's also teaching us what to do while he's in the deathbed. So this gives us the whole Bhishma Dev's lifetime. I know I'm sorry I couldn't cover a lot of aspects because of the time. So now in the last 5 minutes, I just wanted to briefly talk about Bhishma Panchak, and then we'll conclude it. Okay. Now people ask me, what is this Bhishma Panchak and why should that be? Why should people do fasting on the Bhishma Panchak? So this last 5 days of Kartik is called as the Bhishma Panchak. Bhishma Pitama fasted these 5 days before he left his when he at the time of his death, and it starts on the day of Ekadashi and ends on the full moon day on the Purnima. And today is the full moon day. It ends end of today. Now, why do people fast? Right? Lord Krishna was very much pleased with Bhishma Dev. As you all know that he was one of the 12 Mahajans. And then Krishna was very pleased. And then he agreed to give his pure love to those fortunate souls who chant, sing, hear, read, worship, and fast for these 5 days for Bhishma Dev. And in Hari Bhakti Vilas and Padma Puran says, in order to make spiritual advancement, this fasting is recommended. All our sins committed in many lifetimes are eradicated. By following these days of Bhishma Panchak fasting, one gets the benefit of all the four Chaturmasya fasting if one had been unable to follow that same. Right? So that is the benefit of these fastings during the Bhishma Panchak. So, and then there is a process how to follow, right? There are type 1, type 2, etc. But of course, it's almost the last day, so we don't need to go into the detail as people have already been fasting. So, and then what I want to just conclude with this is, right, Bhishma Dev's whole life was full of sacrifice. And Bhishma Dev had a lot of good qualities, right? And we can see a lot of lessons which we can learn from Bhishma Dev. Now, if you really think about it, our Srila Prabhupada as well had a lot of Bhishma Dev's qualities. If you see, Lord Bhishma Dev in his last days, right, he was still at the time of his death, even though he's lying in the beds of arrows, he was giving instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj and others. Right? Similarly, Prabhupada during his last days, right, he was giving instructions and he was translating Bhagavatam and then giving the instructions to his disciples how to run this ISKCON after his passing. So that way we could understand like our Srila Prabhupada also had the Bhishma Dev's qualities. So these two great personalities, let us meditate and let us remember them. So, so His grace, let's glorify Bhishma Dev by reading his Bhishma Stuti, and also let us remember and glorify Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know, maybe if anyone has any one question, there are 1 minute left. If anyone wants to, if I cannot answer, Nilamani Prabhu or Chamkun Prabhu will answer.